Welcome everybody to QSecure's webinar. And today our focus really is on how this massive market can be a benefit to cyber solutions firms. Just so you know, this upgrade cycle will be most likely the largest that we've seen in technology history. The reason is that, and we'll go into detail here, not only on the market and why this threat is there, but also on solutions. But what you're going to find is that this is an upgrade to all of the public key encryption out there today, including all the internet and network communications. The reason is encryption as it stands is threatened by quantum computing. And for those of you that have been following this market at all, you'll know that our federal government, US federal government, a year ago passed a law that has told all federal agencies to start the upgrade process, beginning to look at the cryptography they use and beginning to make plans to switch out to post quantum cryptography. So in today's webinar, we're going to cover a lot of detail. We'll start with a little bit of background on quantum, go over the threat. We'll look at how partners can benefit. Then we'll actually show you live demonstration of our product in action. Next slide, please. So my name is Skip Sanzeri. I'm the co-founder and chief operating officer of QSecure. You'll also be hearing from Stuart Oliver, who heads up all of our partner programs, and Garrison Buss, our chief strategy officer. So let's start with the problem. So what is quantum computing? Why is it a threat? Traditional encryption, public key encryption anyway, is based on factoring a large number. It's a single transaction. Very difficult for CMOS computers, and those are the computers we all use today. And it's withstood the test of time. And we've continued to increase the key sizes to stay ahead of threats. But we have a couple new scenarios coming on. One is quantum computing. The other, of course, is AI. And both of those, individually and combined, are going to present new risk factors to this existing encryption. And RSA was invented in the late 70s, so it seems like it might be time to start the upgrade process anyway. But why are quantum computers a threat? Well, they operate differently, and the way they calculate, they use subatomic properties. One is called superposition, another is called entanglement. But the way they operate is that they're able to do certain calculations, like handling what we call global minimums or multivariate problems really, really well. So when you think of big multivariate problems that are hard for traditional computers, think of things like chemistry and material science, protein folding, logistics, aerospace and aeronautical design, weather prediction, anything AI needs. It handles a ton of variables. And this is where quantum plays a real role. Now, in the future, we're going to have hybrid environments. You're going to have traditional computing like we have now. And we estimate also you'll have very powerful quantum computers that will be designed to take on certain tasks. But the biggest risk we're talking about is that these quantum computers, because of the way they calculate, they're able to deal with that factoring problem unlike any computers we have today. That means factoring is at risk. And this is why NIST over the past 8 years has run a program to start the upgrade process and get us off of that traditional encryption to start moving to post-quantum cryptography. At QSecure, our job is to create orchestration of the new NIST algorithms. And we'll go into more of that later, but we help those get out to the network at the web layer, at the network layer, and also at the switch and router layer. Next slide, please. So traditional computers use zeros and ones, binary. The superposition I was talking about with quantum means that a qubit or a processor, a quantum processor, can be in all states at the same time. So it's a little bit complex. We won't have time to dive in today, but by the way, at the end, we'll leave you our contact information. If any of you want to talk about quantum computing, feel free to get a hold of us. But essentially, superposition allows you to have a qubit in a position where it can be any variable and all variables at the same time, which means that if you've got 2 qubits for every variable, you pretty much have it covered. And that means that you can estimate from a probability standpoint what those variables might be, which means you have a chance at cracking encryption. So what's the problem? The problem is that this upgrade has to happen well before quantum computers are here. We can't wait until quantum computers arrive and then start the upgrade process, because as we know in enterprise and federal government and large agencies and organizations, it could take a decade to upgrade. So that's why we're talking about this now. The other thing that's happening, next slide, please. The other thing that's happening is that data is getting stolen today And that means it can be decrypted later. So if you can store data, let's say you're listening to satellite communications or you're in network communications, you can store that data. It's encrypted with standard encryption today, but there'll be a point if you have a quantum computer and you store that data, you can decrypt it. Now, a lot of data that we have and that we all deal with needs a lot of protection over the years. Banking information is 25 years. You're thinking about, let's say nuclear secrets could be 50 years. You're looking at personal information. Your social security number lasts your lifetime. So you're looking at data that if there's a quantum computer online and, who knows, it could be 3 years, could be 10 years. I think most consensus is sometime between that time frame, that data will have a lot of life left. Now, some data we don't care about. It doesn't matter what you ordered for lunch today. It's probably not important. But other data is very important. And if it also takes time to upgrade, that means that this upgrade cycle has to happen quickly. So again, back to this size and scope of this is enormous. It's all communications, basically. And it's up to 20 billion devices need to upgrade. So this is a monumental opportunity for IT and cyber solutions firms to capitalize and provide services to help their customers with these sorts of upgrades. Next slide, please. So what are the challenges? So again, if you look at cryptography as it's installed today, you have cryptography in everywhere. It's in all communications, it's in different devices, it's in firmware, it's in software, it's hardware. It can be in IoT, it can be everywhere. And a lot of times it's not really orchestrated. It's just there and you're switching out or changing or dealing with cryptography on a one-by-one basis. So things need to change for the future anyway. And as we said, with both AI and quantum, there are going to be new attack vectors and things that we can't even predict right now. So this upgrade cycle is necessary. So again, we have regulatory compliance pressures. We talked about that. So federal's upgrading. Commercial is really starting to pay attention. By the way, globally, because we have customers all over the world now that are using our systems in different countries as well as the US, beginning to look at how they're going to make this shift to post-quantum cryptography across the entire network. But these needs are evolving, right? And as you know, trying to stay ahead of these attackers that have $1 trillion economy is pretty tough. So this is something that we estimate needs to happen again very, very quickly. The other side is that one of the issues with moving into this new area is people are afraid about legacy upgrades, right? You're taking older systems and upgrading them. Well, when we think about it, we architected a system that's an overlay. In other words, it doesn't require changes to existing cryptography. It's very important because for your clients and our clients, they don't have to switch anything out. They just add this on top and they have double the encryption. And the other thing is moving quickly with crypto agility. Now, one of the things that we have to talk about is cryptographic agility. You'll hear more later, but it's the ability to switch algorithms because we know, for instance, that the 4 algorithms that NIST has approved, we know that versions of one of them, Kyber, have already been broken. There was an implementation of Kyber, not the whole open source, but an implementation was broken. So you're going to have to be agile and be able to switch that cryptography on the fly because we don't know what's going to stand the test of time. And we can almost all be sure that it won't be all 4 of them. Next slide, please. Okay, so what we're proposing is that there is an upgrade to quantum safe protection. And our job at QuSecure is not to develop the cryptography, but to orchestrate it out to the network. And again, whether it's the web layer, whether it's a network layer, whether it's the router and switch layer, we have products on all 3, and we're helping enterprise and government get that cryptography to the right devices at the right sizes and key strengths, then give them a single pane of glass or a single orchestration mechanism where they can make the changes, monitor and manage, switch that cryptography, switch those key strengths when they need to. And that's all without lifting the existing cryptography, because those of you know, especially with enterprise, you don't take stuff out to put new stuff in. You can't call them and say, take out that stuff that's working and try this new risky stuff. It'll be great. Thumbs up, right? Doesn't work that way. So you leave it in place. And our architecture was leave it there. We'll ride on top of it or we'll tunnel inside of it, but you have double the protection. So you're actually additive, not taken away. Next slide, please. So our job is to make it easy for enterprise and government. We want to be the easy button so that, again, when somebody thinks about this, it does not have to be a heavy lift. And I think this is what's important for a solutions firm. And I think Stuart's going to talk about this as well. For your firms, if this is, we believe, a massive market with a ton of possibility for revenue. But it's got to be easy, because those enterprise and federal government agencies are not going to do something that's difficult, and the responsibility of doing that and the change management is very, very difficult. And we've already seen success from our side in telecom, financing, banking, of course, federal government, healthcare, and even IT services. Again, working at 3 layers: web, network, and switch and router. Next slide, please. Okay, let me hand over to Stuart Oliver now. Stuart's going to take you through some of the partner programs. Stuart, go ahead.
Thank you, Skip. Thanks to everyone for joining today. I'm sure that you can imagine how all of my friends at the Super Bowl party on Sunday were thinking when I was talking to them about quantum and cryptography. I was a hit. Anyway, more seriously, so we're going to take a little bit of a direction change here for the webinar, and I'm going to walk through, for our partners on the call, integrators, MSPs, GSIs, whoever they may be, kind of talk you through the opportunity that we're going to start to see, and we are seeing in the market today. So my agenda is take you through the opportunity. I'm going to take you through sort of where to go hunting as a partner, the kinds of companies that are looking at PQC and other quantum related technologies. We're going to show you how to make a little bit of money. We'll talk you through an example of selling a QSecure pilot and the margins you can see as a partner. And then we're going to summarize it, and I'll hand it over to Garrison, who will take you a little bit deeper into the technology. So if you can go to the next slide, please, Pat. So let's get right into it. Like Skip said earlier, we are literally sitting on the verge of the single largest IT systems upgrade in the history of IT, where over 20 billion devices, whatever they may be, servers, phones, tablets, web servers, all of the above, and all the communications in between them are at risk, right? Every single one of them has to be upgraded to something that is quantum or post-quantum resilient from a security perspective. So if I put my integrator hat on, my partner hat on, this is a significant opportunity, right? If I've been selling boxes and software of various security vendors for the past 10 to 15 years, this is literally an opportunity to go in and have a new conversation with your customers, right? The beautiful thing about how QSecure is architected is that we are this is a nascent market, and our technology doesn't disrupt any of your run rate business. So if you have a particular network vendor or cyber vendor that you're working with, you don't have to stop selling them to sell QSecure to your customers. So it is a nascent market with significant upside, and I'll talk about that in a minute. It's also a greenfield opportunity, and part of the reason that we're having the conversations today with you is to really find those partners that some we work with and some we want to work with, that are open to having these new conversations to really differentiate what they're doing and how they go to market, right? I have a partner, I won't share whose name it was, but that partner was so excited because they're so tired of selling switches and firewalls, right? This is something very different and very new to the market, and a great way to get your feet in early and make some significant inroads to driving new revenue opportunities. If you go to the next slide, Pat. So as I mentioned in the kickoff here, who are the companies that are caring about quantum and post-quantum and cryptography and this massive upgrade cycle? So, you know, as a 55 plus person startup, we typically don't get, usually you don't get the opportunity to start with federal government, right? But as an organization, the majority of our revenue and our business has come through the public sector side, thanks to those mandates that Skip touched on. And through 2024, 2025, we are growing our commercial market opportunities and growing our commercial partner network, because the largest of the large organizations that are not necessarily public sector, but they follow some of the public sector rules, are the organizations that are thinking about post-quantum and cyber. So think insurance, you've got banking, finance, healthcare. Every single healthcare company in this country of any scale probably has at least a person or a team looking at PQC. As Skip mentioned, we have significant coverage in the telecom side of the house, right? If you think about the majority of data rolling around the globe today, the fiber, the backbone networks that the telecoms control, right? These massive colo providers with significant network infrastructure around the world and geographically, they're asking their telecoms to say, how can you protect my data? How can you make my network that I'm contracting from you quantum resilient? So anyone that has Again, big networks, significant personal health informations, or move money are opportunities to sell and have conversations around QuSecure. Next slide, please. So from as we start to sort of drill down a little bit to how partners make money with QuSecure, on this slide, we're showing two paths. There's a path above and the path below. So from a product revenue path, so a QuSecure product revenue, we typically see this route to market for us, right? Most organizations don't wake up, and I'll use an NVIDIA as an example, right? In data science, they don't wake up in the morning and think, I feel like spending $6 million to do a pilot with DGX or some of the NVIDIA products, right? They rent a small system, they rent a data scientist, they execute a project, and then they scale it up. They learn from it and they scale it up. Then they go to the next one, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. And then they end up in general deployment. And that's the same way that we are going to market. It's the same requests that we get from our partners. My customer wants to pilot this. They want to kick the tires. And when we do that, then we can move on to the next step and the next step. And you can see the timeline across the top from weeks to months to years. But from a partnering perspective, there's also another revenue opportunity coming through that we see happening quite often. So the partners that are successful on our public sector side and working toward that on the commercial side, they typically build a process, right? It's a post-quantum cyber consulting process that they can choose to make it a 2-step or 3-step, an 8-step, or whatever it needs to be. But they become the trusted expert on post-quantum for their customers, and they walk them through this journey. And this is just an example on the bottom here of a journey that one of our partners has taken their customers through. So not only did they see product revenue from QuSecure across the top, and that's recurring, ARR recurring, but it's also a consulting revenue and ultimately professional services revenue along the bottom. So different ways to drive revenue around this very greenfield market. Next slide, please. So this is just an example, right? As I mentioned, we sell a pilot, and this is publicly available information. We're on the AWS marketplace as well with this. But so what we do is we sell a pilot for $20K to an end customer through our partners, right? Typically, a partner sees around 20 points of margin at MSRP with our solution. So that's $4K, right? So this is pretty easy math. We also have a significant partner pilot incentive of an extra $5K on top of that. We know that we have a pretty significant conversion rate from pilot to production when we can get those pilots executed. So we're incenting our partners pretty aggressively to go deploy those pilots with their customers. So it's a margin of almost 45% of that 20K goes straight to the pilot, straight to the partner, I should say. So pretty aggressive kicker, but we know because of that conversion rate, it actually pays off in the long term. Hopefully that makes sense. Next slide. We just wanted to obviously have the obligatory logo slide here, but we have a whole different cross-section of partner types and customer types that we work with, both from an alliances perspective and a go-to-market perspective, right? So we have companies like Accenture. You may have seen us featured in the New York Times and other locations. We have partnerships with Arrow on the commercial side, Imix on the public sector side. We're integrated in as an alliance and OEM partner with Red Hat. So we can be deployed out of AWS. We also have a whole subset of partners that we work with in the traditional integrated world, right? So the who's who in the zoo in that partner world, along with a bunch of influence partners that are smaller boutique organizations that may have one or two customers that they can be represent QuSecure to their customers. So we've got a lot of deployments, a lot of partners in flight. What we are looking for is to show you how to make money with this market opportunity. Next slide. So in conclusion, from my section of this webcast, there's a significant opportunity here. So if you're a CEO, a leader in a partner organization, there's a 41% CAGR through 2030 for the cyber industry growth. This is huge. And we're right on the front of that wave, right? That's going to total out to somewhere near 100 billion in revenue by 2030. And so if I have a cyber practice today and I haven't added post quantum, I need to really think about how do I integrate that into my go-to-market today to get ahead of a lot of other organizations that aren't quite focusing on it yet. So a couple of key takeaways. There's significant opportunity in both public and private sector market. This is a really rare opportunity to realize a first mover market advantage in post quantum, right? This is an entirely new technology that there are very, very few players. In fact, ours is the only product on the market today that does the cryptographic orchestration of all of that, post quantum key infrastructure. And finally, if you're a partner thinking about maybe this is right for me, there's a significant way to differentiate yourself from your competitors and also drive extra revenue, extra margin, put it in your pocketbook. So hopefully that made sense. There's a significant opportunity. We want to work with partners that are hungry and aggressive to go after this market. And if you're interested, we'll have a call to action slide at the end where you can reach out to the team here at QuSecure. And so for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it over to Garrison. He'll take you a little deeper into the product so you get an understanding of kind of what we do, how we do it, and see how it actually works.
Awesome. Thanks, Stu. And appreciate everyone showing up to the call. And next slide, please. So yeah, taking us a little deeper into the product, right? And really what we've developed here at QuSecure is a platform that we call QuProtect. QuProtect actually encompasses 3 different products, and I'm actually only going to show a snippet of one today. If you're interested in more of how we do what we do, we actually did a webinar a couple of weeks ago, and we will link that to all of you in our follow-up email. Now, paying attention to the 3 different types of technology that we've developed here, the message is for you to basically be able to take control of your cryptography, regardless of where in the networking stack you work, right? So, for example, if you want to protect web servers, right, to end user devices, for example, this might be a banking client that has an online banking portal for their end users. We're able to help facilitate that very seamlessly, again, in tandem with the encryption that you use today, so you don't need to rip and replace. As well as, right, more within network communications, or even if you're moving things between on-prem and cloud, right, we can cover you with our QuProtect network security. And finally, if you're routing between different data centers, we have QuProtect Core, which allows you to upgrade even those communications to post quantum. So really, I think the idea here is that we're able to protect many different types of communication, all from what you see here at the bottom. This cartoon is meant to resemble our orchestrator that allows you to, in a very precise way, orchestrate the cryptography that's being done at each one of these links. So I'll kind of leave it there, and I will now share my screen just to show you, right, what this looks like in a bit more detail. I will be showing you the graphical user interface, the GUI for that orchestrator that I was just showing you at the bottom. Now, this, again, isn't meant to be a full demo of our capability. Rather, this is just a quick overview showing you kind of how simple it can be and how powerful it can be for you to show to your own customers, and even for customers to come in and interact with as well. Our product relies upon a rather different architecture than a lot of PKI that is familiar to folks today. And that difference allows us to grab a lot more telemetry from each one of those sessions and provide enhanced security to high-value links. In short, really, every session that is created is known to and logged by our orchestrator, right? So you can see every session that's created, you're able to understand the cryptography and the key length underpinning each of those sessions. So too, are you able to see each device and proxy that's connected in here by virtue, right? It gets fingerprinted, and all of this, again, gets logged out to enterprise logging by Splunk, so that you're able to, again, create your own queries and forward along to your own SIEM SOAR activities if you so choose. In addition, right, I think we really just wanted to show you how simple it can be to go ahead and configure some of these things. So once the proxy package is deployed, going ahead and editing, right, for example, what type of cryptography is in use. There's no command line that you're forced to use here, right? If you're configuring OpenSSL, or you're thinking about configuring OpenSSL and managing your certs and all of that, that's something that you don't need to do with our system. In fact, for us, switching cryptography can be as simple as clicking a button. You're also, again, able to get a level of control that typically is not exposed to you, at least within a single cohesive system, right? You can determine the key rotation precisely for whatever interval you'd like. And so too, even the type of cryptography, for example, that's distributed to an end user device. So in this case, it's a browser. And you'll see that right now, actually. So if I were to go back into our dashboard, sorry, here, 1 second. I think I've been signed out. Apologies. So if you were to go into our dashboard and you were to go ahead and want to see, right, a post quantum session created live and how simple it can be, right, from the end user experience, that's what we're going to show you right now. So first, I'm going to show you the target application, which is, we deal with a lot of banks. So this is representative, for example, of an online banking portal that you may log into. Fully functional, by the way, right? So if I put a deposit in or, I take money out, you're able to see that here. Again, I just put in that $56 transaction. And now, because I accessed this directly, right? So if you're looking at what this looks like from the user's perspective, right, of going from the end user directly to that application. If I instead route through a QuSecure proxy to that receiving application without any code change needed at the application or even in the end user's device, I'm able to upgrade that link to Post Quantum. And I'll show you again exactly what that looks like. So we're going to that same application, but this time what you'll see is QuSecure securing your environment. That's shown for the purpose of this demo, but what you can see is I'm actually logged into that exact same application, right? So if I'm looking here, that there's that $56 transaction that I just put in, and again, no code change, right, to the application or my browser. In this case, I'm using Safari. It doesn't matter which browser you use, but suffice it to say that Safari doesn't have any post-quantum capabilities, even in beta mode today. And with our technology, we're able to upgrade seamlessly, right, that user experience to give them post-quantum protection within the browser, even though, for example, the browser hasn't been modified with a plugin or anything like that. And again, you're able to see that session logged in our software there. So I think really the point is that our platform gives you the ability to have a really strong understanding of what cryptography is in use, to be able to affect that cryptography and to be able to apply your organizational policies against cryptography in a way that you haven't been able to before. And I think with that, Pat, I'll let you take over the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Cool. I'll jump in here actually and close it out. So this is Stuart. So thanks everyone for joining today. We appreciate it. We're a partner first organization. We are looking to grow our business via our partners, and we have all of the goodies that you need to be successful as a partner. So there's a significant opportunity here, as I mentioned in my part of this presentation. So if you have any questions around this, please reach out to us, partner@QSecure.com. I would love to take you through a deeper dive on the product, the solution, the partner programs, and all of our capabilities. There's a significant kicker from a margin perspective for selling those pilots today and ultimately buying us and you, the beachhead, with your customer. And, so we want to make sure that we have the right partners doing this with us. So thanks again for joining us. If you have any questions, please reach out. We hope we've provided some information and some value for you guys as you think about your future go-to-market for your businesses. Thank you. Have a good day.